Today we're talking about the DJI OSMO Pocket and how this little tiny camera can make you some money. If you're new here to this channel, my name is Jeven Dovey. I like to do camera reviews, filmmaking tutorials, and I like to travel and go on adventures and take you along with me for the ride. One thing before we get started, I'm doing a giveaway for a DJI OSMO Pocket as part of my 200K giveaway on this channel. So make sure you head down in the description so you can enter for your chance to win one of these awesome cameras. So today we're talking about the DJI OSMO Pocket, and I've had this camera for a little while now. I got a chance to work with a pre-release version of this camera, and then this one came as soon as they were released. So I've had this camera for a little while now, and I've been using it in a lot of different scenarios. Earlier in this week, I put out a vlog that was all shot completely on the DJI OSMO Pocket. So I'll make sure to link that down in the description down below so you can see how this camera performs when put in a vlog-like setting. But this video is not just a review about this camera. This video is going to teach you some ways in which that you can make money using this little guy. Because the DJI OSMO Pocket is a very powerful camera when it's used right. It has a clean image and it shoots 4K 60. And obviously the best part about it is that it legitimately fits in your pocket. Now, everywhere that I've been going recently, I always take my DJI OSMO Pocket with me and I stick it in my pocket. It's the first camera that's called a pocket camera that actually fits in your pocket. Now, obviously, like your GoPro will fit in your pocket, but your GoPro is a little bit different than a DJI OSMO Pocket. I feel like they're in kind of two different classes of cameras. A GoPro or any camera like that is an action camera, and the DJI OSMO Pocket is not an action camera. And if you watched my vlog from earlier in this week, you'll see that it does not perform very well in an action camera setting. That's what an action camera is for. This is a gimbal, so it needs to be used like a gimbal. Now, obviously, being so small, people want to compare this to a GoPro Hero 7 in terms of stability and everything else that comes with it, but I honestly think that they're two different cameras, and I've been using the DJI OSMO Pocket very differently than I've been using the GoPro Hero 7. And I think that if you need a camera for both situations, that it's better just to have both cameras rather than having to pick between one or the other. Now, before we get into some settings and some things that I've discovered about this camera, let's talk about how you can actually make money using your DJI OSMO Pocket. And to do that, we're gonna go up in the mountains because we're gonna show you some footage as I was climbing one of the peaks around Los Angeles. Okay, so I've warmed up a little bit. Let's talk about how you can make money using your DJI OSMO Pocket. And this is like the perfect camera to take with me when I'm out doing these kind of adventures because you can get really stable shots that you can sell as stock footage. And that's the whole game plan here. Stock footage is a very awesome way to be able to make money using basically any camera. And the OSMO Pocket is definitely optimized to sell stock footage because you could sell 4K at 60 frames a second. So that means that you could shoot 60 frames a second, and out of that footage, you could sell a 30 frames per second clip, 24 frames per second clip, 60 frames per second clip. So you got not only real-time footage, but you have slow-mo footage, all at 4K. And as you sell shots, you start making more and more money. I mean, it's a great way to make money using your camera, and the OSMO Pocket is a great option for it. So first, let's dive into some settings and some different things you need to do with your OSMO Pocket to be able to optimize it for stock footage. One thing that has really helped in terms of getting better footage is getting little ND filters, and ND filters with a polarizer. So I just got a new set of these filters. You can see them, look how small they are. And this is a new set of ND filters with a polarizer that work with the DJI OSMO Pocket. Now, the beauty of these little filters is that they're completely magnetic. So you're not taking anything off the lens. You are just snapping it right on the lens. For the most part, I've been using the ND32 with the polarizer on it. And this one, I'll just keep attached and I put it right in the case and it doesn't fall off. It actually works very well. Now, there's different strengths of ND filters, and the Freewell package comes with all of them. Not only do they come with the polarizer, but it comes without the polarizer. And the reason that you want to use an ND filter, just in general, I have a whole video all about ND filters, but the shortened version is that it allows you to control your shutter speed. So if you don't use an ND filter, what happens is that your camera has to compensate by boosting your shutter speed. And when you boost your shutter speed super high, say like 1/2000th of a second, you get this kind of mechanical jitter look to your footage. And the reason for that is there's no motion blur. So when you're shooting at high shutter speeds, it cuts out all the motion blur. And what makes something cinematic is that it has a little bit of motion blur. So the standard for Hollywood is 180 degrees shutter. And what that means in terms of shutter speed is double that of your frame rate. And I'm not gonna go into all the details about it, but basically when you get your shutter speed down to double that of your frame rate, so here I'm shooting 30 frames a second, and when I put it at 1/60th, you get that motion blur. And that motion blur just makes your footage more cinematic. It's just a style that was adopted by cinema, and it's been the norm for standard footage. Now, when you shoot at higher shutter speeds, get this kind of mechanical look, your footage might not sell as stock footage as well, because people want footage that looks good in the edit. So if somebody is shooting a project and all of their project is shot in the standard 180 degree shutter rule, and then they go and buy one of your shots that has a really high shutter speed, it's gonna look out of place. So that's the reason why you want to get ND filters, especially when you're selling stock footage, because you wanna put yourself in the best place possible to be able to get your footage sold. The DJI Osmo Pocket is a great camera just to get B-roll shots. It's clean, it doesn't have any distortion going on in the image, and you can integrate it into whatever project you're working on. Now, there's a few limitations you have to think about. First, the footage does get noisy, especially when you start getting into low light. So this is definitely a daylight camera, or a camera that you use when you have lots of light available. As soon as you start getting low light, it's not the best camera just because it has a lot of noise in the footage. Now, in terms of best settings that I've found to make this camera work, you wanna shoot in this slow follow mode. So when you go to your menu system, you can see that there's a fast or a slow. When you put it in the fast mode, it whips around too much and it just doesn't have a natural feel to it. When you put it in the slow mode, it has some nice feathering, and so you can get nice shots where it's moving slowly in and out, and it doesn't have any jolty motion. Now, in terms of the different settings, I like to use the follow mode or the tilt lock mode. If you use the FPV mode, it kind of is all over the place, and it actually doesn't really look like you're using a gimbal. It's shaky and it just doesn't work very well. Like, this camera is made to be used as a gimbal, so use it as a gimbal. I don't think there's really a need for first person mode. I haven't found a need for it yet, and it actually, when I use it, the footage doesn't look that good. So one thing that you need to think about is that this camera doesn't have access to the pro settings when you're just using it as the camera. So right now I'm holding it up and I don't have access to the pro settings. You actually have to have your phone connected. So that's one of the major limitations with this camera, is that every time you need to change your pro settings, you have to connect your phone. But what's good about it is once you set those settings, you pull out your phone and the camera will retain those settings. Now you can turn them off and flip back to auto mode, but there's no way to access your pro mode and set things up unless you attach your phone. Now, the most important things you need to pay attention to when you're using pro mode is, one, the manual settings. So when you're in pro mode, you get access to all your manual settings, which gives you complete control over your image. Now, the second thing, and this is something that I think is really important for shooting stock footage, is that you have access to your zebras. It basically tells you when your footage is overexposing. And when you're shooting stock footage, one of the key things you want to do is avoid overexposed footage. So having your zebras on your screen allows you to see when your footage is overexposing, and then you're going to be able to bring your exposure down so that you can get properly exposed footage. Now, one thing that has come out recently, I actually don't have one yet, but it's the wireless module. This is going to be a game changer for gimbals specifically, because one of the biggest problems that people have is figuring out a way to wirelessly transmit your video from your camera on a gimbal to a monitor so you can put your gimbal on big objects like a pole. So if you want to do like a sweeping shot, kind of like a jib, but you want to do it on the go, it's hard to do with gimbals because you can't really monitor the footage very well. There obviously is wireless video transmission systems, but they're expensive, they're heavy, it's not something you always want to carry just for those times when you want to put your gimbal on a long pole. The awesome thing about the DJI Osmo Pocket is you're going to have this wireless module, and it just connects to your phone, which then you can stick on the end of the pole and you can do these kind of big jib shots, or you can mount this gimbal to different places that you can't necessarily be next to and be monitoring and actually control the gimbal. This is gonna open up a lot of doors of creative potential with this camera. For example, if you wanted to shoot a shot over like a crowd, you could stick this up on a pole, you have your phone in your hand, and you could do movements from your phone and be able to get some really interesting shots. Like I was saying, you can integrate this footage into your other productions, so always having a DJI Osmo Pocket on you to do these different kind of creative shots that other gimbals won't allow you to do makes this gimbal very enticing, and it makes it so that this gimbal has a place in a lot of different productions. Now, if you want a more step-by-step approach on how to sell your footage as stock footage, I have made an entire course all about it. It takes you through everything that you need to know to sell stock footage, and I take you through from not only shooting stock footage, but editing, uploading, and making money with stock. So guys, I'll put a link down below in the description if that is something you're interested in. However, if you just want to go for it, what you can do is start shooting stock footage, go over to a site like Video Blocks or Shutterstock, start uploading content, and start seeing what kind of footage sells. And with the beauty of this little camera, shooting 4K 60 basically gives you the ability to sell your footage at the highest price possible. So sites will range anywhere from $100 to $200 for a 4K shot, which is pretty incredible because you obviously retain all the rights to your footage. However, you're just licensing the footage for someone else to use, and putting 4K 60 frames per second footage up there gives you the best opportunity to make sales so you can make more money with your footage. It's super easy once you get started and once you know how to do each steps in the process, and it's just something that you can always be doing on the back burner. I always just continually contribute more and more footage into my stock libraries, and over time it's grown and grown, and I'll get more sales each month, which turn into more money each month, and it just slowly builds. If you have more time and you really want to dedicate your time into shooting stock, you can make a lot of money much quicker. But overall, stock footage is a long game, so it's something that you put a little time in now, and down the road, as your library builds, you're gonna start seeing more shots sold per month, and your average income is gonna go up per month. Once it's up there, you don't have to do anything. Basically, your shot could sell over and over. I've had shots that sold 30, 40 times, which is pretty amazing because I did a little bit of work on the front end, I cut it, color graded it, put it up. It took me a little bit of time to get it up there, but now it just makes sales and I don't really have to do anything. And that's the definition of making money while you sleep. And this is why I think that creators need to wrap their head around selling stock footage, because it is something that is not going away. This video industry, this video culture is here to stay. More and more footage is needed every day. There's more and more productions out there. There's more and more places where people are streaming videos where they need additional clips to make their projects work. I buy stock footage all the time when I'm working on different projects because I don't necessarily want to go out there and always shoot different shots. It's easier and cheaper when I'm working on my bigger productions to just go to a stock library and pick out a shot that fills in a gap rather than flying somewhere and getting like an exterior shot of a mountain range. I could just pay a small fee and I can have a shot instantly. So that's why stock footage is so powerful. Like I said, guys, if you want to check out my course, I'll put a link down below. And also I'll put a special discount code for those of you who are watching this video. So in terms of like creators and YouTubers and just anyone who's creating online video content, there is a lot of need for you to film yourself. And this camera is obviously very stable. You can do vertical mode or you can do horizontal mode. And I think that it's set up perfectly for those times when you need to talk to camera. There's definitely use out of this camera, but if this is like the only camera that you want to get for vlogging, I would steer away from it and go get another camera. This is more along the lines of people who want to do videos where you're talking directly to your audience and you just want to pull it out of your pocket and get a quick shot of you talking to camera. This is where I've really used this camera in terms of my YouTube. So like I said, I keep throwing this in my pocket. I bring it with me wherever I go. And if I have like a burst of inspiration and I just want to shoot a quick video, this makes it very easy to capture decent audio and a good picture and then get a video without having to pull out a bunch of gear. Also, when I've been doing like my product reviews, I'll take it along with me. And then if I have a moment that I want to capture, I just have a thought, it's easy for me to pull this out and do a quick talking bit about what it is that I'm doing and not have to worry about microphones and all these other things. Originally, I thought that this was not going to be the best because the microphone jack is on the bottom. However, I haven't even been using a microphone attached to this, and I still think the audio is decent and it's good enough, especially when there's no wind. As soon as you have some sort of breeze, a little wind in here, the audio is not that good. So if you're someone who wants to get into selling stock footage, or if you're just someone who needs to have a camera to grab quick B-roll shots, I think the DJI OSMO Pocket is definitely a no-brainer. It's a great camera for those scenarios. If you're someone who does a lot of just talking to camera videos, consider getting this. It makes it really easy to get that content. Now, if you're someone who does that style of video and also wants to vlog, then I would say have multiple cameras. So you can have this, like I've been doing, just as a second camera that you could pull out for quick things, and then have your bigger camera, have your GH5, have your Canon M50, whatever it is that you use to vlog, and that is your bigger camera that you use for the main parts of your vlog. I still think that there is a place for this, and this is definitely a camera that I take with me all the time. It's set up perfectly for creators and for people who need to just get quick B-roll shots and make it really easy. Like I said earlier, I would highly suggest getting some ND filters because that's gonna make your footage look that much better. It's gonna get rid of a lot of that super high shutter speed look. I'll put a link down below in the description to the set of ND filters that I picked up. They're from Freewell. They have two types of filters in it. You have straight ND filters. This is just for when you need to cut out light and just bring your shutter speed down. And then they also have the ND filters with the polarizer. And so what the polarizers does is it helps reduce reflections. So it increases your contrast in your footage. It helps with bright sunlight on like water or like snow. And it really just helps curb all those reflections and just makes your footage look much better. Now this set also comes with just a straight polarizer, so if your light is lower and you don't want to put an ND filter on, you can just throw your polarizer on for those situations when you have water, snow, anything that's reflective in your shot. All right guys, and that is it. If you're new here to this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I do a lot of awesome filmmaking tutorials, camera reviews. I also do some YouTube training videos, and I have some awesome adventures planned for 2019. Also, make sure you head over to thecreatorfilmschool.com. That is my nuts to bolts, everything you need to know to have a career as a creator or a filmmaker. That's also where you can find my stock footage course. And guys, that's it. I will see you on the next one.